Welcome to the Beyond Sugar Freedom podcast. I'm your host, Danielle Dame, holistic nutrition coach and speaker. Let's dive in. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode. This is a bonus special episode for all of you who have been asking me questions. My clients, I know lots of my followers have been DMing me questions about pregnancy and about my plans with baby and my plans for labor and all the stuff. And this podcast feels long overdue. I wanted to sit down, and I'm actually just coming to you raw and real here today. We've just finished falling a bunch of trees this morning. So I'm still in my Canadian plaid, very classic Canadian. Coming to you just authentically here today to share about my updates, right? Share about my pregnancy, about choices that I'm making, about challenges that I'm having, about what's coming in the next few weeks and months and maybe years. So I wanted to fill y'all in on all the details. So the time of recording this, it's actually September 16th that I'm recording this, and I'm just about 35 weeks pregnant. Oh my goodness. So I have just over 5 weeks left until I'm term. And of course, you never know when the baby's going to decide to come. So it could be less than that. It could be more than that. And that is scary close. Like at any time, my body could decide, okay, baby wants to come. So that in itself is a whole thing to wrap my head around. And overall, I'm feeling good. Things are going well. Baby is kicking lots, growing well. All of my markers are good. Like everything's just kind of sailing along pretty smooth in terms of baby growing. Now, of course, there is a lot of challenges that I'm facing in other areas of life and preparing for baby, and I'm going to share about those in just a minute. But health is good. I want to really start with that because a lot of you I know are wondering about that. And I'm continuing to lean on my self-care practices. So how I'm looking after myself. And to be honest, bold and honest with all of you, it's not all roses. And I haven't been perfect. I have not been going for a walk every single day. I have not been completely sugar free. I have not been, doing all the things that I'm supposed to be doing. And I'm okay with that. I think this is a big part of the journey. I mean, there's so much that I could be doing or should be doing. I think this applies to any phase of our life, and we need to find a balance. Life for me has been really derailed the last, I'm going to say even more than a month, with moving and with all the things that, have had going on personally. And it just hasn't happened. But I am, for the most part, very proud of how well I'm still doing, eating good food, eating a lot of healthy food, including protein, trying my best to get in some bone broth every day, although it seems to be maybe every 3 or 4 days that I'm doing it, to be honest. But I'm amping that up again. I'm re-inspired as I'm getting closer. And I just made a massive new batch of bone broth. So that'll be easier for me to get some of that in every day. Taking all my vitamins, all the things, hydrating, moving and walking when I can. I'm moving a lot throughout the day, even if I'm not going for a walk, still puttering around the house or cleaning or doing all the nesting things and cooking. And so I'm still moving a lot and trying to find my balance between, just wanting to put my feet up and keeping my body moving, which I know is really good for my body. I've been going to bed really early. I'm usually in bed by 8, maybe sleeping by 8:30. My sleeps are quite, I'll share more about this in a minute. They're not the best. It's been a challenge spot. So I'm just getting to bed early so that I can spend lots of time in bed and get the sleep that I need. And then a work in progress, but something that I'm also doing to look after myself, right, is attempting as best I can to slow down. And this has not gone according to plan over the last month or so, but doing less and resting more is going to continue to be a priority in the coming weeks and after baby comes, of course, as well. So continuing to be present and to slow down and to do less every day, which my body is actually forcing me to do, which is actually quite frustrating. I'm going to share about that in a minute. But there's a lot going on over here, and self-care is really important. I've been doing some yoga. I'm doing prenatal yoga once a week. I am supporting myself with my breathwork practices and with lots of time outside in nature. I love going out first thing in the morning and just taking in the morning light. So I'm doing, I'm doing lots of great things and doing the best I can, even though they're not where I'd necessarily want them to be. Again, I'm not shooting for perfect. I'm just shooting for what feels good in my body right now and what I have capacity and energy for. And we got a lot going on. So I wanted to fill all you in on some current life projects as well, because outside of just growing a baby, I'm also in nesting mode. And this has been a really interesting, energetic and hormonal and emotional transition. Like it's weird because I don't feel like myself all the time. I feel like, yeah, it's a very strange conundrum of like needing to kind of hibernate and hide from people and not leave the house and get all these things done, which is not necessarily always me. So, but lots going on with nesting, right? My next big project with that is meal prep. So, yeah, I need to stock my freezers. This is like really weighing on me. I feel behind in that, even though I've still got plenty of time, but I want to start getting ahead on that. I can't do meal prep days like I used to because I just can't stand as long as I used to in the kitchen, which is frustrating. I would normally be able to spend 6 hours just like cooking like crazy. And now it's like 2 hours and I'm spent. So I need to, I need to start kind of spreading that out and doing some batch cooking with some healing meals that I want to have on hand to not have to cook or think about food for at least 4 weeks after baby comes, which is my goal. A couple other things we're really trying to push to get done before baby comes, and it's interesting. This is a lot of this has been derailed. I was really hoping to get some groundwork laid with my garden so that it's ready to go in the spring to start planting some things. That probably won't happen at this point. There's been some realigning and adjusting of projects that we've just had to do because we're running out of time, and it's not worth the stress to try to push and get these things done for myself or for Ben, who also needs to rest. So unfortunately, the garden will probably have to wait. But some things that we will be able to get done is we're getting firewood loaded up for the winter. We just actually cut down some trees today, like I said. Planting garlic is a major goal of mine. This is Ben shaking his head at me like, why do we need to plant garlic? It's because I need to plant garlic. I just bought all my seed garlic, and this is the first year of my life that I am not holding back on planting garlic. I feel like it's kind of this funny little quirk. I feel like I've always been limited with how much garlic I can grow, and garlic's expensive. It's so expensive to buy at the market, and it's crap when you buy it from the store. It comes from China. Hey, I've had to do that before, so it's all good. But there's just part of me that's just so excited to go crazy and grow all the garlic I'm going to need. So I'm planning to plant probably about 100 or maybe a few more heads of garlic, cloves of garlic, I guess, seeds of garlic. So next July, I should have a lot of garlic, which is really exciting. I love garlic. The other project that we're hoping to get done is renovate the pantry. It's really a tri-purpose room. It's a mud room. So it's our back entry. It's a laundry room. And it's also going to become the pantry room because it's just off the kitchen. And I need a dream pantry. So it's not ideal to have all three in one spot, but feels like a really important part for me to have all the food nicely organized, all the things that we need organized so that room isn't just a mess. We're going to be doing a lot of laundry. We're going to be doing a lot of cooking when baby comes, and I don't want to be tripping over things. And yeah, so that is, I think, the next project on Ben's list now that he has finished removing all the mold from our attic, which was a saga. So house projects going on for sure over the next coming weeks. And for those who've been following along with Instagram, you'll know that our little kitty Kai broke his leg just 2.5 weeks ago. So this has been a massive reason why a lot of our plans have been derailed. It's been really difficult. My nervous system has taken a major hit. This has been a big trauma for me, and not just because he broke his leg, which yes is sad and unfortunate, but the healing process is just torture for me, for him, and just all involved. It's been a lot. I'm not going to go into all those details here, but just navigating that and trying to keep him calm and trying to prevent a cat from being a cat is absolutely like impossible without drugs, which I of course hate that we're having to sedate him or give him drugs. And we're having to keep him in a room without a window so he doesn't get too excited and want to go outside and meow. Yeah, it's just like, it's heartbreaking. It breaks my heart every day. And at the same time, he's okay. He's going to be fine. We visit him lots. I spend lots of time down there. I'll work on my computer, watch movies with him, and cuddle with him. And so we're doing the best we can, and very aware that we're getting a lot of lessons, early lessons in parenthood. In the beginning, it was really 24/7 care and keeping an eye on him, and yeah, just weighing out all the options we had and trying to find the best course of healing. And it's just been a lot, and it's taken a lot of our time, a lot of our energy. It's robbed a lot of my sleep, and it's taken some of our freedom away. We were hoping to get away for a baby moon for 2 nights somewhere, and we just can't leave him. We need to give him drugs. I'm sure we could find somebody to cat sit for him, but we're just not quite there yet. So 4 more weeks of healing, hopefully. Yeah, it's just been a lot. So these are the things that are currently kind of going on in our sphere. And then, of course, lots of smaller things among that have been, yeah, been challenging, especially in this time of energetically. I need to be resting and nesting, and that's it. And I really haven't felt like I've had that opportunity. We both haven't felt that we've had that, to just be and to just enjoy our beautiful new house, and to just enjoy the days together. It's been a lot of like pushing and projects and stress and anxiety, and yeah, not ideal time for nesting for sure. And of course, moving, this was not the ideal time to move as well, but we're making it happen. And it's not all bad. It's obviously really beautiful, and we love our new house, and we cannot wait to just continue the endless projects that we'll have here. Will be a lifetime of fun and yeah, and really, really beautiful memories that we're already starting to make. So, in terms of specific pregnancy updates, so let's get to that. I know many of you are like, how's it going? How's your body feeling? So, I am now officially, well, I have been for a while, at the stage of pregnancy where it's really hard to tie my shoes, bend over, get dressed, do anything, move fast, which is so wild because, yeah, it's just wild. I think at this point, I've probably gained about, 23 or maybe even 25 pounds now. I've been weighing myself weekly just for fun, just to keep track, not to obsess over. And that's a really great weight so far. So yeah, crazy. I just have a whole new respect for people who carry that much more weight. And I know many of you listening to this, are maybe a bigger or carrying more weight than you want to. And holy smokes, is it hard? Oh my goodness. I imagine if it's spread out over your body, maybe it's a little bit easier than being all in your belly, but it's still hard. It's a lot of work on the body to be carrying excess weight. And yeah, I just have a whole new like empathy and compassion and respect, because it's hard. And with babies specifically, a couple of the things that I'm struggling with in my body is hip pain. I think I've spoken about that before. Hip pain and back pain, which are preventing me from sleeping. Yay! The pain doesn't really bother me throughout the day unless I do too much or stand too much. Then my back will start to be a bit sore, but I can usually just rest it and I'm fine the next day. So grateful for that. But at night, I can only sleep on my sides now. I can't sleep on my back anymore. Obviously, can't sleep on my stomach. And my hips just start to hurt, and I'm tossing and turning. So I'm constantly switching from the right side to the left side. And then an hour later, back to the right side. So it's really hard to get comfortable. And I know this happens at the end of pregnancy. I've got like 6 pillows. I'm rocking all the things and, making the best of it that I can. But yeah, that is a bit hard. And I also know that it's preparing me for being up, every hour or two nursing a baby in bed. So I'm not obsessing over it. It's all good. It's just a bit of a challenge. And as I said, like just the physicality of not being able to do much is challenging. It's really challenging. I probably more mentally than physically for me. Like today, they're chopping down trees and, raking and bucking up wood. And like all the things that I could be helping with. And I'm just having to sit there and watch. And it's a very interesting experience of like, I want to be engaged. I want to be supporting. I want to be helping. A lot of the things that we're doing around the house, like I want to be able to go grab a tote from the garage because I need more mason jars to fill my bone broth with yesterday. And I just can't. I can't lift those things anymore. I'm not supposed to. It hurts my back. So like having to rely on someone else to do even the smallest things sometimes, like picking something up. If Ben's there, I'm like, can you please pick that up for me? And it's such a weird mental game because that's not who I am. I am self-sufficient. I can get things myself, but right now I'm not. So I'm really having to like let go of a lot of that and learn how to really surrender and be cared for and do less. Um, yeah, it's a very strange mind game as my body is like, okay, I literally can't do this thing that is so simple that I used to be able to do. Like, oh my goodness, can you please take my socks off for me? Like it's so anyone who's been pregnant, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, it's a real it's I laugh at it, but it's definitely a challenge. A couple other like mental challenges actually that I have been struggling with over the last bit is this deep drive to nest, right? This last trimester of pregnancy, I should be. And everything in me, it's such an interesting energetic shift, right? Wants to rest and nest. So clean the house, have a tidy home, get all the baby clothes ready, get all the things organized, stock the freezer full of food, like all these things that are on my like prep. I've got spreadsheets, I've got checklists, like all the things. And the challenge in that for me is that my nesting phase feels like it's been completely derailed by all the other projects, by Kai breaking his leg, by moving, by like all the things that we're trying to get done before baby comes. The house is often a mess when I want it to be like tidy and clean. And it's been, I think, extra energetically difficult for me being in that phase of pregnancy and having the chaos around me and having all the things to do instead of just be, and not ideal. And we're hoping that's turning a corner here as we settle into a routine with Kai and his care for healing, and we get some big projects sort of knocked off the list. Things are starting to feel a little bit lighter, a little bit more like, okay, we can slow down, and that's just really important. So that's been a struggle mentally for me for sure. Another piece that's been challenging is not feeling ready. Like this derailment I feel like I'm behind on prepping food and buying things that I need for labor and postpartum, right? And prepping for the baby. And we haven't even picked a name, or like we have a list, but actually that's a question many people have about names. We have a list, I think, of like 12 names, and we really haven't put any effort into it. So it's like all these things that I fantasized I'd have all this time to just sit around and chat about and organize and like go slow. And it just hasn't happened. So it's all going to happen last minute, and it's just going to be what it is. So not feeling ready, which is such a theme in my life, and such a point of growth for me, is constantly not feeling ready, right? And we're never ready. We're never ready for a baby. You're never ready to start a business. You're never ready to like start a new relationship. So there's always that always shows up, right? The other thing that I found really fascinating, I don't know if this is it is kind of a mental challenge for me because it's, as I mentioned earlier, I feel like it's not me. So I really in this nesting phase has been fascinating because I only learned this because a major boundary of mine was crossed a couple weeks ago by a family member. And I realized, oh my goodness, there's a whole new set of boundaries that I need to put in place that I didn't even know I needed to put in place. And these are boundaries that didn't used to need to be boundaries. I'm like just this weird, this energy. It's not weird. It's this energy that I'm in now, this phase of nesting, creating a sacred space and a safe space for my baby to come into the world and to be nourished. And yeah, it's fascinating because the old me, like just a couple months ago, I love it. I want people to come over. I want to host a housewarming party. I want to host people. I want to have lots of fun and socialize, like and welcome people into our new home. Like all these extrovert parts of me that just loves being surrounded by community and people and wants people to come over and visit. And the new me doesn't want anybody here. wants quiet and peace, doesn't want anybody dropping by, doesn't want to host any big parties. It's kind of like keeping people at bay. So it's weird for me because that's not my norm. And I'm having to just surrender and adjust and trust, right? That this is that nesting phase where I'm creating this sanctuary and I just don't want a lot of people's energy in my home right now. So there's like the one part of me that's like, of course, come over, come spend the weekend, come visit. And the other part of me that's like, no, don't come over. Don't come over. Uh, don't come over. I'll see you later. So it's like I'm still wrestling with that one because obviously community is still so important to me, and I want to visit and connect with the people that I love in my life. But at the same time, I need to find a way to do that that feels nourishing and not draining. Which is yes, just a whole new thing, whole new thing. So those are a couple challenges, nothing major, like everything's okay. Yes, the last couple weeks with Kai's leg break has been absolutely challenging mentally, and my nervous system's been fried. Had a couple emotional breakdowns, which have been so supportive and helpful. And we're navigating it. We'll be okay. I always know that at my core, which is really beautiful, and I'm well supported. There's good news as well. I want to share a couple other, so switching gears, I was just talking about my challenges and some of the heaviness that's been going on, but there's also some awesome things going on. So a couple pieces of great news. Well, I can't remember if I mentioned this before on the podcast, but I have hired a doula. She is amazing. So if you're listening to this, you know who you are. Yeah, she's been a wonderful resource for me to just shoot questions to. She's sharing lists with me and resource with me. And yeah, it's just been, she's asking me questions that I didn't even know were a part of birth, or like it's really helpful, things way beyond my midwife would even ask. So that has been absolutely great. I'm so happy that I hired a doula. I'm so grateful for it. Yeah, so that's number one. Awesomeness, that's going great. I'm so grateful for the just the extra support. I'm such a fan of, like, we all need extra support. So whether you're struggling with sugar addiction or relationships or your job or birth, or even not struggling, when I hired her, I wasn't struggling with my pregnancy. I haven't really been struggling. I mean, there's been some things to navigate with the medical system, but I've got that. But it's just that extra person. And I've been leaning on her for resources and validation. And like, it's just in the emotional support piece that I know I'm going to need more of, especially as we get into the labor process, which I'll talk about in a second. But another piece of good news that I know I shared a little bit about on the podcast many episodes ago. One of the things, without having to share all the details of this, because I feel like I am now a professional, an expert in Rh negative pregnancies. So, one of the things that I have come up against in the medical system is the fact that I am O negative blood type. Fun fact, anybody who wanted to know my blood type. And any pregnant woman who has a negative blood type, if their baby happens to have a positive blood type, there is a potential of cross contamination of the blood. And if baby's blood gets into my bloodstream, my immune system will essentially attack it. And they say it doesn't affect your current pregnancy, but it will build up an immune response and affect your second pregnancy. And many women miscarry or have, second pregnancies with major issues, and children with major challenges. So it's a legitimate medical concern. Okay. It's a legitimate thing. I'm not sharing all the intricacies, but trust me, I've looked into all of them. I now know way too much about blood typing and all the options. And in all of my research, one of the things that, how they treat this is they give you a shot, right? And for anybody who kind of knows me, I know I haven't talked a lot about this on the podcast, but I'm not a big fan of shots. I don't want random shit in my body. I do not trust the medical system. And I'm just going to say that right here, right now. I'm very grateful for the medical system. I just don't trust them. And especially when it comes to injecting shit into my bloodstream. So I've done a lot of research, right, and this is a very real decision that I was facing, having to decide on. And it's not black and white. It's not, no, I just don't want a shot because I don't know what's in it. And I don't trust that you're not, jabbing me with things that I don't want to be jabbed with. It's like, it's not that black and white. I also don't want to have a second pregnancy that is a major challenge, right? So lots of things to weigh out. And anyway, coming back to the good news of this, the one of the pieces that really frustrated me is, and I had to learn this on my own. My midwife didn't know this. Nobody I talked to knew this, that in Canada, you I was met with, no, you just can't test the baby's blood type. Like, my first question was, can I test the baby's blood type? Well, it's still in me. If the baby has a negative blood type, there's no concern. There's no problem. Problem solved. And then if it had a positive blood type, I would then have to make some sort of informed decision and go from there. But it feels like, to me, like a great place to start would be, let's just wean out and decide if this is an actual problem that you have to deal with, right? In our medical system, they'll just give you things as preventatives without actually knowing if it's needed or not. And this is the one that's so frustrating, right? I'm like, tell me, do I actually need to have this shot? Right? Or is it an actual concern or not? Right? So let's weed that out. But in Canada, that's not possible. That's not possible. That's what I was met with. Sorry, we can't test your baby's blood type. Lo and behold, thankfully, through a podcast episode that one of my friends actually sent me, there was another woman talking about her natural birth and her low intervention birth. And she was in the States, and she was talking about having her baby's blood type tested. And I was like, what? So this is possible. It's just not possible in Canada. So lo and behold, through all the rabbit holes and Facebook groups, I found out that in the UK and the US and probably some other countries, testing your baby's blood type is actually a part of the genetic testing that they do early on, or it's an add-on that you can do. So the technology exists. Of course it does. Science has come a long way, right? Of course they can do that. They can test the baby's genes inside my blood, right? What are my genes? Anyway, so we can tell what the sex of the baby is through blood, but not the blood type. Anyway, so that led me down a massive rabbit hole to find this company in the United States called Unity. So shout out to Unity, who does this testing. And unfortunately, I had to jump through all sorts of fun hoops. Luckily, my midwife was happy to send a requisition in. And I essentially had to, and my midwife was also happy to draw my blood. I was maybe also going to have to do that on my own, which I wouldn't do on my own, by the way. My sister-in-law is a nurse, so I would have her draw my blood. But our medical system here, our blood draw centers here in Canada would not draw blood to send to a third party in the United States for me. So a lot of hoops I had to jump through to really make this happen, but it's possible. So any Canadians out there who are also not a fan of injecting things in your body that aren't necessary and have negative blood, please reach out, because there is a path, and it's through Unity. And I figured out how to jump through all the hoops and do it. And they still haven't charged me for it, by the way. They said it was probably going to be about $200 or something for the test from that American company. Haven't heard anything back yet. Nobody's billed me. They haven't billed my midwife. So I don't know what's happening there. But anyway, the good news in all of that is that the results came back and my baby is negative, blood type negative, which means problem solved. I don't have to take this shot. I don't have to investigate it anymore. I don't have to do any more research, and I don't have to stress about that anymore. So that was a huge weight off of our shoulders, and just a very fun, quote unquote, fun thing that I had to do to navigate and advocate for myself in this medical system. And it just boggles my mind that midwives and medical professionals don't know that that's an option. There are so many women who would be happy to pay a couple $100 to do that on their own, right? Just because, yeah. So I'm not going to rant about that anymore, but that was definitely something that I feel very passionate about, and is no joke. I mean, is something that a lot of women do have to navigate, and we're grateful that he's going to be negative. Our little boy's going to be negative. Negative blood type, positive attitude. Right? Next piece of good news. This is great news. It was actually great news that landed in our ears while we were sitting at the emergency vet clinic 5 hours into our visit with Kai's broken leg. And we heard back from a midwife in the Cowichan Valley where I live that is going to take me on as a patient. This is massive for anyone who's been following along. My midwife in my previous city, we've moved cities, is not able to deliver a home birth in this city that I now live in my home. We're just too far from that district's hospital. So there's rules and regulations around that. So it was either give birth somewhere else in that old city, find a place to give birth, or do it in a hospital. or like all the things. There was plan B, C, D starting to form, but I was really holding on to hope that I would be able to get in with one of the midwives here. And I'm so excited that I did. It's going to be such a perfect fit. I'm actually meeting with her this week for the first time, and we're transferring care. And that means that I get to start planning my dream home birth. And that is, for those who didn't know that, that is my plan. And that is something that I'm very excited about. From the very beginning, I knew without a shadow of a doubt, this is something I want to be doing at home. I want to avoid hospitals at all costs. And at the same time, be open and at peace with if I do have to end up in the hospital. I know that there are cases and reasons that that may be a decision that I have to make, but I'm not manifesting that. I'm not holding that in my mind too much. So, yay, midwife in this town, which is awesome. So, yeah, many of you were asking about my birth plans. So, yes, home birth. There's a lot of plans that I have for my home birth, which is really, really fun. I've been doing a lot of research about and reading a lot of Ina May's books, doing a lot of just really feeling into what I know to be true about the birthing process and how medicalized it's become. Right. I saw actually a quote on Instagram the other day. It said, like, birth is a natural process that has been heavily like medicalized, not a medical procedure that people choose to do natural. I'm totally butchering that, but we've gotten so far from the trust and wisdom of a woman's body and turned this beautiful process into a heavily hospitalized, medicalized process, which it's not. Yes, medical intervention is absolutely necessary sometimes, and really grateful for it and really welcome it. But sometimes it's not all the time. It's really gone too far and taken women out of their innate ability to trust their bodies and be with that journey. So I'm taking it back to the basics as much as I can with having some medical support. So hence having a midwife and not choosing to do a free birth, which I know is becoming more and more popular. If you don't know what that is, look it up. But I'm actually genuinely in this moment looking forward to my birth, because I feel like there's so many pieces about it that are going to be absolutely spiritual and beautiful and magical and in my own home, and a lot of pieces that I'm setting myself up for that feel really good, that feel like this is going to be an amazing experience. Now, as I get closer to my pregnancy, I totally understand I might start freaking out. But in this moment, I feel really good about it. And I feel really well equipped with my support team, with my mindset, which is actually apparently all of it. Go figure. So I'm creating in my mind, and obviously here in the home, I'm gathering my supplies to have an incredibly relaxed environment. A lot of women end up in the hospital or have really challenging births in the hospital because it's not relaxing. There's a bunch of strangers, there's beeping, there's loud noises, you're just in a hospital. Nobody loves being in a hospital. The other thing that's really important, I'm learning a lot about the hormones that support labor, is low lights, right? When we think about circadian rhythm, we think about red lights. We're not meant to, actually, apparently melatonin is a massively important hormone during labor. So really making sure that, I'm supporting myself energetically with relaxing music, candles. We're going to have really low lights. I'm probably going to ban all blue light during my labor process. So we'll be living just with the light of the sky. And then in the evenings when it's dark, candles and red lights. I'm going to have the fire going, most likely planning to do the actual birth in the living room in front of our beautiful fireplace. It's really cozy there. I'll be definitely spending a lot of time in the bath as well for pain support. My doula will be there. She's got an incredible basket of tools to support with different movements and different techniques that we can use to help with the labor, sensations. I'm not even going to call them pain. They're intense sensations. I also have a lot of somatic tools at my disposal. I know the power of sound, right? I'm planning to make a lot of sound and move a lot of that energy instead of keeping it in, right? Movement, even my body. right? Walking around, dancing, moving in different positions, and breath. These are like the basic somatic tools that I'm so connected with that I feel like bring it on, right? My breath, of course, breath is going to be important. So I'm in the process of learning some important breath techniques and the different ways to breathe, obviously different stages of labor to breathe. Um, and then also hypnobirthing is something that we're looking into. So again, just really focusing on this is like preparing for a marathon, right? And preparing for, although it might not be, might be quick, right? It might be long, but like preparing, it's the mental piece, the mental piece. And when the contractions are showing up in my body, can I actually surrender and flow instead of tighten? And this is where I've learned a lot, right? Especially in medical settings or when women are being rushed, like they're having their membranes burst, they're getting all sorts of drugs to like hurry the process along. There's an energy of like hurry up, and pain tends to make us want to contract in our body. So the biggest and of course, your cervix is going to contract. You're going to like everything's going to tighten when really what we want to be happening during labor is loosening. Right? You're loosening. You're wanting to spread. You're wanting to open like a flower. So this is going to be my focus for the whole journey of that. Is even practicing now, like when I'm holding a yoga pose and it's starting to hurt, or when the pain starts showing up, like can I breathe into it and can I relax in it? And I feel like I have a lot of practice with this with cold water therapy. Like that is a very intense situation for my body to be in. And I noticed that that's become easier for me over time, is instead of tensing my muscles, connecting with my breath, my mind, and actually relaxing. And it makes everything easier in cold water therapy. And I can imagine in birth as well. So that's going to be an important part of it. I mean, there's just so many tools that I feel like I've learned and I have at my disposal that, yeah, I'm just really looking forward to bringing into this space. And most importantly, if you haven't gathered that already, I am aiming for an extremely low intervention birth, which means minimal medical intervention unless absolutely necessary. There's a lot of wisdom here behind not rushing the process, which most medical institutions will do, right? They will. If you've been in labor for 30 hours, they're going to puncture they're going to break your water, right? They're going to give you some drugs to hurry along labor. And these are all things that I do not wish to opt for at this point in time. Yes, I'm open to things changing if there's medical reason for it. A lot of times there isn't. A lot of times it is literally just because we got to get going with this, right? And that's how people have been trained, or that's just the society we live in doesn't have patience for a woman's body. And, I want to really lean into the trust that I do have and the wisdom that I do hold in my body to process and allow this baby to come out when it's ready without forcing. So yeah, that's going to be definitely a part of it, hopefully. Just not rushing, right? Not needing, unless there's legitimate medical, like serious concerns, there doesn't need to be intervention. And a lot of times the intervention that happens is like preventative, or just because we don't know, these sorts of things. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to navigate, but this is why I have a doula to advocate for me. And my midwife seems really on board with a lot of this, natural childbirth, right? This is what it is. This is literally allowing the birthing to happen with light support on the sides, and trusting in that process. Another thing that I am opting out of is a vitamin K shot. We have decided to do an oral vitamin K. Again, as I mentioned earlier, not a fan of shots. Really don't trust what they put in needles these days. So vitamin K oral is an option. There's a bunch of testing that they also do when a baby first comes out that we're still feeling into. Some of it feels fine to us. Some of it is like, nope, we don't need to be doing that. That's unnecessary. Another thing that we're really going to be doing is delayed cord clamping. So one thing that they'll do in the hospital is clamp the cord and cut the cord right away. And they've proven that you should be waiting to do that until the cord has actually stopped pulsing. The blood is still actually going to the baby at that point. So this can take up to 2 or 3 minutes usually. The cord should still be intact. There are some people who leave the cord intact until they've passed their placenta as well, which is wild. That's a lot longer and not proven necessaries. But anyway, cord clamping, we're also going to really cherish that first hour. There's just, the baby doesn't need to be taken away, it needs to be on me. Lots of these really beautiful things. And in the first months of life, and possibly onward, this is not a rabbit hole we've gone into yet, but we do know that we're not going to be giving our child any shots or any vaccines for quite a while. Yes, we're still going to research, but we have very strong beliefs that these are actually not supportive tools. And it is wild when you see the statistics on like, I think children now get upwards of, in their first like 3 years of life, they get something like 70 or 80 different shots, which is nuts. When I was a kid, I think I got like 3. This is just insane to me. There's something wrong. There is something wrong with our system. And I know there's a lot of people with very passionate, different beliefs about that. And that's absolutely fine. I'm just sharing what I know is right for me. And we will be doing our own research and also trusting our own intuitions on this. There's some really fascinating information coming to light about over vaccinating our children. So low intervention. There's lots of other pieces that go along with that, but that is really, the main pieces that I want to share with all of you. I'm sure I'm forgetting some things, but we'll see how that goes. And I also really want to make it clear, one of the things that I'm mindset wise, yes, I am putting a lot of my thought and energy and intention into this beautiful home birth. And I'm also creating a backup plan B or plan C in my mind that I'm also going to be at peace with. So if for some reason I do need to go to the hospital, which, fun fact, I think is like 5% of women actually end up from home births that are done right and not rushed and supported properly, actually have to go to the hospital. So it's a really low odds, but it's still there. And it's a plan that I want to be okay with. It's not ideal. I don't want to end my birthing experience and go, well, I was a failure at that, or that didn't go according to plan. Life never goes according to plan. And I am smart enough to know that. So I might have this big, beautiful plan, but I know it's not going to go according to plan. So I want to have a whole toolbox, and I want to also have plan B. So I am going to have a checklist. I'm toying with whether or not I actually pack a hospital bag, because I don't want to actually manifest that. I don't want to actually put energy into this is happening, because it's not going to happen. But I might have a checklist or just some things in mind that if we do need to do that, someone could grab and put together and bring to the hospital for me. So these will be things like our own lights, maybe even some red lights, some electric candles, again, to really focus on the lighting there. We'll hopefully be able to bring some essential oils, some other like really important comfort measures, to make it like a really, really sacred environment in the hospital for me. So yeah, well, we're going to be putting some of those things together for sure too, just in case. And then after baby comes, whenever he chooses to come, I'm planning, again, a very traditional, many cultures actually honor the first 6 weeks as sort of, they don't call it this, but I'm calling it hibernation, because it's going to be fall here. It's going to be November. It's perfect time to hibernate. So those first 6 weeks are really meant for me to stay in bed as much as possible, to eat nourishing, warm foods, to stay really warm, keep the baby warm, right? Feed the baby, figure out breastfeeding, all the stuff. And that also includes minimal visitors. So this will be an interesting challenge, because I do know that there are a lot of people in my life who want to come see the baby right away. And I'm going to have to set some hard boundaries around that, because I very strongly believe that this period of time is a very, very vital newborn phase of nourishing myself, nourishing the baby, and being very, very careful whose nervous systems we bring into our home, whose germs we bring into our home, whose, negative thoughts we bring into our home, right? And energy, and my energy. Anyway, so we'll navigate that as we get there, but that is sort of the plan for afterwards, is hibernation. So if you do want to come visit the baby, please check in 2 months after the baby's come, or check in the new year after Christmas, and we may be receiving more guests at that time. Yeah. So I think that's all the pregnancy updates. I know that there's also some work updates that I'll quickly share too, and then we'll wrap this episode up. Thanks for tuning in for those who have wanted all the behind the scenes details. Um, yeah, I've shared this on the show already, so this is no surprise. I'm definitely planning to take 6 months to a year pause in my business. I'm both really excited and nervous about this because I love what I do. I love my clients. I love working the work that I do. And I put a lot of like energy and love into growing my business over the last 9 years. And oh my goodness, I cannot believe it's been 9 years. And it's sad to kind of put that aside. Not forever. I'll be back, but it's going to look different. And I already know that. I know that there's going to be some changes to what I do and the passions and the purpose that I'm here to serve on this planet. And in the meantime, for anybody out there who's listening to this, and you're going to be obviously continuing to listen to the podcast, I've got some amazing episodes ready for you coming out over the next couple months. I will be having a massive library on my website of do-it-yourself courses. So self-paced courses, all of my live programs that I usually host once or twice a year, I'm creating a version where you can go through it on your own. So I'm having lots of resources there for anybody who wants, to keep healing with sugar, keep healing with their emotions and somatically in all the beautiful ways. And then if anyone is looking for more personalized one-on-one support, I have a list of practitioners that I put together that I highly recommend. So I'll be sending that out to anybody who might inquire or emails me about support. So I want to make sure everybody's well supported. And then I'm going to step back and support myself, which is ultimately just the best gift that I can give myself. So I'm really looking forward to this time. It's going to be beautiful and really this opportunity for me to practice what I preach. You know, a lot of the wounding that we all carry is those first years of life and not getting what we needed from our caregivers. And I want to show up the best I can for my little guy and give him as much of the emotional, energetic, obviously nutritional needs that he has. And one of the best things that I can do is just have my own regulated nervous system and be present. And, taking a step back from work is really going to allow me to do that. So I'm so grateful that I'm able to do that and very, very blessed, very honored that I've created a life where I can do this. And I'm choosing to do this because it's really important to me. So there you have it. I'm going to leave it at that. That was a long update. There's lots going on over here. Thank you everyone for listening, for tuning in. I hope that you've loved this little bonus episode. And I'm so excited for, as I said, some very juicy and awesome upcoming episodes that I have in store for all of you. And again, thank you so much for being along this journey with me, for cheering me on, for all your kind messages, for your support as I head into this sort of sacred pause for me and maternity leave and me and baby and my family. And who knows what the next year is going to entail, right? But I'm up for it. And I hope you guys are too. All right, everyone, we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks for tuning in to another episode. If you're loving what we talked about today, please remember to subscribe, leave a 5-star review, and share this episode with someone you love. It helps me incredibly reach more people and help more women who need this information. And if you're ready to go deeper into discovering your unique root causes and patterns keeping you hooked on sugar year after year, be sure to come and check out the brand new free root cause quiz that will give you actionable items to finally begin healing your relationship with sugar from the inside out. You can find the link to download this quiz and other amazing resources in the show notes below. I also wanted to just take a quick minute to share a disclaimer. The information provided in this podcast is for general purposes only and is not at all intended to be professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. And as much as I do my best to bring you up-to-date and accurate information, please remember that I'm also sharing my opinions, stories, and ideas that are ultimately not supported by mainstream science. My personal advice should not be taken as professional advice, and you are always encouraged and advised to consult with your own healthcare practitioner before making any changes to your health and wellness routine. This podcast is intended to inspire and offer you alternative views to healing your relationship with food, mind, and body. It is up to each listener to take responsibility for their own health and wellness decisions. I hold no liability or responsibility for your results or lack thereof. Thanks for tuning in to the Beyond Sugar Freedom podcast, and we can't wait to see you in the next episode. Let's go.